Hello, everyone. This is Miss Abrahart, and it is Sunday, September 27th, 2020 at 2:42 p.m. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is start off with motivation. Okay. Hey, Black Child by County Cullen. Hey, Black Child, do you know who you are, who you really are? Do you know you can be what you want to be if you try to be what you can be? Hey, Black Child, do you know where you are going, where you're really going? Do you know you can learn what you want to learn if you try to learn what you can learn? Hey, Black Child, do you know you are strong? I mean, really strong. Do you know you can do what you want to do if you try to do what you can do? Hey, Black Child, be what you can be. Learn what you must learn. Do what you can do. And tomorrow, your nation will be what you want it to be. All right, so I'm going to explain the assignments for the week. So obviously you have do nows, and because we are doing the unit, civil rights, the literature of civil rights, during the civil rights movement, writings and speeches inspired sweeping social change. What gave those words the power to change a nation? So that's the unit that we're doing, and the do nows are related to Black history facts. So here are the do nows for the week of Monday, September 28th, 2020. Let's make sure you can see this on your screen. No, you cannot. So this is what I need to do. Okay, so now you can see it on the screen. So here are the do nows for the week of September 28th, 2020. There are a total of 5 questions that you are to use Google to assist you with, or you can ask someone in your family. If they are a Black history buff, then they can help you. So the first question is, who received a patent on his invention of a longer lasting light bulb? Number 2, in which decade did young African Americans start hip hop music? Number 3, who was the first Black female astronaut? Number 4, what do the initials NAACP stand for? And number 5, which pole did Matthew Henson reach with explorer Robert Peary? Okay, so those are your do nows for the week of September 28th, 2020. All right, so let's go back to this screen, and let's look at the word network. So we did your do nows. So let's look at our word network. Okay, and let's get it to show up. Okay, here is your word network. It's worth 12 points. After you read the informational text, 1963, the year that changed everything, you're going to complete a graphic organizer. So here are the instructions. A word network first of all, you need to know what a word network is. Okay. So a word network is a collection of words related to a topic. As you read 1963, the year that changed everything, identify interesting words, not people or places, words related to the idea of civil rights, and add them to your word network. So that's what you have to do for this assignment. You are to, as you're reading 1963, the year that changed everything, you're going to identify 6 words. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 words related to the civil rights movement that you found interesting. Or that when you see these 6 words again in your life, or when you hear these 6 words again in your life, it will trigger a memory and say, hey, I remember hearing that word when I read about the year 1963 in my English class in 9th grade. So just 6 words. Remember, it's not people. I don't want the names of people. I don't want the names of places. I just want 6 words that stood out to you that are related to the civil rights movement and that you discovered as you were reading 1963, the year that changed everything. So you're going to read the text, the informational text, 1963, the year that changed everything, and you're going to identify 6 interesting words. These words are of interest to you that stood out while you were reading the text. Remember, I don't want the name of people or places. I want words that are associated with the civil rights movement. So this assignment is worth 12 points. You get 2 points for each word that you place inside of the box. This will be on an editable Microsoft Word document, so you'll be able to type into the box the words that you find interesting. And it's a total of 6 words. Okay, so that is one of the assignments for the nonfiction informational text, 1963, the year that changed everything. All right, so let's get out of here. And now we're going to get out of here. Okay, so let's go to our text. This is called a launch text. A launch text just basically sets the foundation for the rest of the unit. It lets you know what the rest of the unit will be about. So, and every unit from 9th grade to 12th grade, as long as Detroit Public Schools Community District keeps these textbooks, you will always have a launch text. The launch text is just a foundation. It sets you up for what you are to, or what you will encounter as you go deeper into the unit. All right, so let's get to our launch text. All right, let's get to, let me go back so you can see. Okay. Now, obviously, I'm just showing you this for the purpose of this video, but you should have already went to the school to pick up your textbook. So this will be found on page 254 in your textbook. Now, if you have not been to the school to pick up your textbook, underneath the assignments tab on Teams, a copy of this text will be given to you. But this is in your textbook, volume 1, page 254. This is in your textbook, My Perspectives, that you should have went to the school and you should have picked up by now. It's in your textbook, My Perspectives, volume 1, page 254. Now, if you don't have your textbook, then I will include a PDF or a Word document of this file. All right, so remember I told you in the class notes Remember I told you in the class notes that informational text is to educate you about a topic, and it will give you illustrations. It will give you pictures. So here's the picture right here. So and if you read the caption, during the Children's Crusade of May 1963, police turned fire hoses on young civil rights protesters, including this girl who was knocked to the ground by the force of the water. Remember I told you, in order for you to learn more information about a topic in an informational text, you'll usually get illustrations or pictures. So here's an example of this. You see the young girl, she was knocked down by the force of the water hose. Here's her purse. So this is to give you more information about the topic. In this case, the topic is 1963, the events of 1963. That's what this informational text is about. It's going to educate us about the events of 1963. Remember, the essential question for this unit is, how can words inspire change? The literature of civil rights. During the civil rights movement, writings and speeches inspired social change. What gave those words the power to change a nation? So our essential question is, how can words inspire change? So this is an informational text. How did the writer, the person who wrote this, how did this particular writer use their words to inspire change? That's the question that you need to keep in mind as I'm reading this text, as you're reading this text. The goal is for you to read this text at least 3 times because there's 3 assignments for this text. There's the word network, and then you're going to have 2 more assignments that I'm going to show you after I read this text. So you should at least, the bare minimum, read the text at least 1 time, but the goal is to read it at least 3 times. And each time you're doing a closer read of the text, meaning you're digging deeper into the text and looking for certain answers. Okay, so I'm going to read the text, and then I'm going to go over the assignments. So remember, this is an informational text, meaning it's nonfiction. It is true. All of the information that you are about to hear is true information. It is true, it's facts. It can be verified through research. So it's nonfiction, and it's going to educate us about a topic. The topic is 1963. Remember, I told you, and when I keep saying, remember, I told you, you have to go back and watch the video class notes for Monday, for the week of Monday, September 28, 2020. You must watch the video class notes for the week of Monday, September 28, 2020. That way you'll understand why I keep saying, like I said before. So like I told you before, an informational text is nonfiction. It educates us about a certain topic, and it will give us illustrations. It will give us illustrations to give us more information about the topic. And the author did this with this picture of this young woman who was knocked down by the force of water coming from a fire hose that was turned on by police when she was protesting. All right, so I'm going to read this text. You can read along with me in your book. Remember, you should have been to the school already to pick up your book, My Perspectives, Volume 1, and we're on page 254. All right. In 1865, the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution ended slavery. Nearly a century later, African Americans continued to struggle for equality under the law. A number of major events in this dramatic battle took place in 1963. In April of that year, from behind the bars of a jail cell in Birmingham, Alabama, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote a message that would inspire countless others. King had been arrested for breaking a law banning public protest. His message, the famous Letter from Birmingham Jail, defends nonviolent resistance to injustice. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, King wrote. He added, whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. In early May, the young people of Birmingham took King's message to heart. Disobeying a court order, more than 1,000 African American students marched from the 16th Street Baptist Church. The next day, the students marched through Kelly Ingram Park. They were met by an angry white mob as well as police who blasted them with water from fire hoses and terrified them with dogs. The teenagers were jailed in temporary cells at the county fairgrounds. On the seventh day of the Children's Crusade, city officials agreed to negotiate with the African American community. A few days later, the two sides reached an agreement to end local segregation. News of the Children's Crusade spread in the media, helping to transform the way Americans saw the civil rights movement. The New York Times ran more stories about civil rights in the 2 weeks after the Children's Crusade than it had in the previous 2 years combined. Scenes of children under attack were filmed and broadcast all over the world, setting off a global outcry. Polls showed that Americans across the land believed racial justice was the nation's biggest problem. The struggle for civil rights continued to be marked by violence. On May 28, 1963, four African American college students in Jackson, Mississippi were assaulted for sitting at a segregated lunch counter. 2 weeks later, on June 12th, an assassin killed civil rights activist Medgar Evers outside his home in Jackson. That summer brought a landmark event in civil rights history. This was the March for Jobs and Freedom that took place in Washington, D.C. on August the 28th. Under the shadow of the Lincoln Memorial, Dr. King delivered his famous I Have a Dream speech to a crowd of 200,000 people from all walks of life. The peace and hope of that event did not last long. On September 15th, a bomb exploded inside Birmingham's 16th Street Baptist Church. The attack killed 4 little African American girls and injured 22 other people. The struggle continued throughout 1963. The Southern Regional Council has records of protests that took place in more than 100 Southern towns. Approximately 20,000 demonstrators were arrested. With words and actions, they delivered a demand for justice that could not be ignored. All right, so I just read the text for the first time. Now, if I was to read it again, I would stop, I would explain, I would give insight, I would elaborate on some things, I would make connections to the text, based on my personal experience or based on what I've read or learned about Black history. But the first time is just to read the text. Okay. Now here are the assignments for this week. You'll have additional assignments next week, but just for this week. Now you may have to read the text again. Some of you may not have to read the text again in order to complete these assignments. All right, so the first assignment is Central Idea 1963. That's what it's going to be when you look. That's the title of this assignment when you look on Power School. Central Idea 1963. So the question is, what is the central idea of this text? Use textual evidence to support your answer. Now, if you watched my video for class notes for the week of Monday, September 28th, 2020, you will know exactly what I'm asking you to do. But if you haven't watched the video, then you're not going to know what I want you to do for this particular assignment. So this assignment has 2 answers, and it's worth 5 points. So, it's worth 10 points. So you get 5 points for each answer that is correct. So remember that. I'm looking for 2 answers for this assignment. I just read the text, 1963, the year that changed everything. Now I want to know, what is the central idea of this text? So I need you to answer that question. Then after you answer that question, I need you to use textual evidence to support your answer. Meaning, I need you to go to the text and write word for word the sentence that tells you what the central idea of this text is. I need you to get textual evidence, meaning go to the text, write word for word the sentence that tells you what the central idea of this text is. You need to, if you have not already, you need to go back and listen and watch the video, class notes for the week of Monday, September 28th, 2020, so you know exactly what I'm looking for. This assignment has 2 answers. You get 5 points for each answer that you answer correctly. Or for each answer that is correct, rather. You get 5 points for each answer that is correct. So I'm asking you 2 different things. One, I need you to tell me what the central idea of this text is. You just put that in your own words. And then I need you to use textual evidence to support your answer, which means there is a sentence. There is a sentence in this text that will tell you exactly what this text is about. Okay, so that is the first assignment. The second assignment is structure of informational text. Now, in the video class notes for the week of Monday, September 28th, 2020, I tell you how a writer will set up an informational text so that you can learn more about a topic. So if you go back and watch that video, I tell you specifically ways in which a writer will set up an informational text so that you can understand or learn more about the topic in which they're writing about. So in this particular instance, the topic is 1963. That's the topic. So how did the writer structure this text? How did the writer set up this text? How did the writer format this text in order for you to understand why 1963 was so important? Give me 3 specific ways that the writer set up or formatted this text so that you could understand the importance of the year 1963. I need 3 specific ways. 3 specific ways. 3. You get 10 points for this assignment. 3 specific ways. No, I did not want 10 points. I want 9 points. You're going to get 3 points for each, you're going to get 3 points for each. Let me save this so that you get the correct document when it's time for me to assign this assignment on Teams. So you get 3 points for each one that is correct. I need 3 specific ways that the writer set up this text, formatted this text, structured this text to help you understand why 1963 was so important. The events that happened in 1963 set the scene for the civil rights movement. That's why this text is entitled The Year That Changed Everything. Because it was certain events that happened in 1963 that was the cause of the civil rights movement. If these events did not happen, then we would not have needed the civil rights movement. So tell me 3 specific ways how this text is written, how it's structured, how it's formatted, how it's set up to help you understand why the events of 1963 were important. If you watch the video, class notes for the week of Monday, September 28th, 2020, it will give you hints of what you need to look for to answer this question. All right, so there are right or wrong answers to this question. Actually, for both assignments, there are right or wrong answers. There is a specific answer for each of these assignments that I'm looking for. If you don't have that specific answer, it is wrong. So, first assignment, what is the central idea of this text? Just put it in your own words. If it's correct, you get 5 points. After you tell me what the central idea of this text is, go to the text and give me textual evidence. Write word for word the sentence that supports your answer to what the central idea of this text is. That's assignment number 1. Assignment number 2, I need you to list 3 specific ways in which the text is written to help you understand why the events of 1963 were important. There are 3 specific ways that this writer wrote this informational text to help you understand why 1963 was such a pivotal year for the civil rights movement. And the last thing I want to say about central idea, how does this relate to your everyday life? Because people, I get it. Students sit in class and they like, how is this going to help me later on in life? Central idea. Central idea is basically just telling a person flat out what you're talking about. It's like you're getting straight to the point. That's what central idea is. Just get straight to the point. And then you can add details later. But a central idea is just getting straight to the point in a conversation. Tell me just exactly what you're talking about. I don't want to hear all the details. Just tell me, what is the point of this conversation? That's how central idea relates to your everyday life. It's helping you to learn how to just get straight to the point when you're talking to people. Get straight to the point. You can add the details later if the person is interested in the details. But central idea is just getting straight to the point. Straight to the point. Because some people will only listen to you once they realize what the purpose of the conversation was. If you start with details, sometimes people will just tune you out. But if you just tell them flat out, this is the purpose of this conversation, this is why I'm telling you this, then you have their attention. And then they may be more interested in learning the details. So central idea in your everyday life is just learn how to get straight to the point. Get straight to the point. And give the details later if the person wants the details, if they ask for the details. Another way to help how central idea relates to your everyday life, and hopefully, you won't have this encounter. But if you encounter the police, when I took my class to get my CPL license in order to carry a concealed weapon, I was told in that class that if I ever have a time in my life where I have to use my firearm, that when I call the police, all I'm supposed to say is that someone has been shot, this is the location, and hang up. That's the central idea. Someone has been shot. Here's the location, and hang up. That's the central idea. Just say who been shot and tell them the location, and that's it. Not to give any other details, because when you call 911, you are recorded. So the key is just to tell the location of where the individual has been shot and to hang up the phone. To not give any other details until the police shows up. And to only answer their questions. So whenever you're dealing with law enforcement, only answer the question that is being asked of you. Only answer the question that is being asked of you. That's the central idea. Don't give details. Only answer the question that's being asked of you. Because when you start getting details, then you start getting yourself caught up in a situation that you may not want to be caught up in. Do not give details unless you have a lawyer present. So this is how central idea works in your everyday life. Only answer the question. If you're dealing with law enforcement, only answer the question. Do not give additional details. That is central idea. When you just say specifically, you just answer the question up front. You just gave the answer to the question. Do not give additional details unless you're asked to give additional details. Or if you're just in a conversation with someone, just get straight to the point. And then you can add details later if they ask you questions. And more than likely, if it's something that really sparks a person's attention, they're going to start asking you questions, and then you can give the details. Another example is, say for instance, we were in school. If we were face to face with each other, and say for instance, Brian and John got into a fight. Well, the central idea would be Brian and John got into a fight. That's the central idea. And obviously, just human nature, your friends or classmates or even teachers or adults will say, okay, what were they fighting for? Why were they fighting? Who hit who first? Were there any other people involved? But the central idea is just that Brian and John were fighting. That's the central idea. And you give details as you are asked for the details. So that's how central idea relates to your everyday life. I gave you different examples so you can see that what you're learning now is relevant to when you leave school and to your everyday life and when you get older and you're just living your life. All right, so that's it. I did the word network, I did the do nows, I did the central idea, and I did structure of informational text. So those are all your assignments for this week, and I will talk to you on the next video.